So then we have to figure out like, okay, we know that even though we're showing this ad, people are going to go wherever they want. And attribution is a nightmare as it is now. So you can't really track that stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So instead of fighting it, why not leverage it?
Doubling your e-commerce revenue shouldn't feel like a mystery. I'm Joe Chavez. I'm an e-commerce consultant who over the past decade has helped hundreds of up-and-coming e-commerce brands become more profitable. In the process, I've helped generate over $100 million in revenue, spending over $30 million on Facebook ads, designing beautiful Shopify stores, automating effective email campaigns that grew revenue, while also providing strategy for e-commerce brands you've probably heard of like Crocs, NutriBullet, and Taylor Stitch. Now I'm connecting with e-commerce store owners on this podcast. From startups to global brands, you'll hear the story behind their store. This is the Double or Nothing e-commerce podcast, where we uncover timeless strategies and tactics that you can use to double your revenue, even if you don't have an endless supply of money, time, or talent. Let's get into the show.
In this episode on the Double or Nothing podcast, Andrew Maff, founder of BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing agency for e-commerce brands, shares his thought processes on analyzing products and leveraging content to acquire customers. He also defines omnichannel marketing and its impact on the landscape of digital marketing. Listeners will learn practical strategies to increasing revenue and lowering customer acquisition costs. Let's jump in as we go double or nothing with Andrew Maff from BlueTuskr.
All right, welcome back to the podcast. Today, I am super excited because I have Andrew Maff, founder of and operator of BlueTuskr, an omni-channel digital marketing agency. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to open up with the question that we ask everybody on this show. No pressure. If you had 90 days to double e-commerce revenue for a brand doing under $1 million, so they're still growing, how would you go about doing that?
Do I get follow-up questions, or is
Absolutely.
This like game shows? Okay. All right. So we're under $1 million. I have 90 days to double revenue.
Correct.
Right? I assume that revenue is
top line.
A little bit below $1 million, like, because below $1 million could be like we do $5 a month, or it could be we do $500.
Yeah, we'll say they're doing like 30 to 40 a month right now.
All right, 30 to 40 a month. What are they selling?
They are selling kids shoes.
Kids shoes. Is the shoe wildly differentiated in any way, or is it more of a brand play?
It's more it's wildly differentiated in the fact that they have a YouTuber backing it that has a very big YouTube following, and his we'll just say his face is on the shoe. His brand is on the shoe.
Okay, so the reason I asked the 500
those are great questions, by the way.
Well, you gotta think, like, if you're looking to double your revenue and you have let's say you sell, I don't know, I'm going to Kaiser Soze this thing. So you sell candles, right?
Yep.
And so, but they're standard candles that, everyone's kind of searching for it. You can go the Google route, maybe you can go the Facebook route, something like that. But in this scenario, right, you have an influencer you can leverage. Yep. They're on YouTube, which is great. I assume in this scenario also they've approved using their face because you said they're a backer, right?
Yep.
Cool. All right. So I would try one of two things. One, I can use their face. I would create some Facebook ad creative. I would run ads on their YouTube channel because they already have the following, assuming that following is big enough. If not, I would also find some other YouTubers and try some YouTube ads on it. YouTube ads are typically pretty top of funnel though. So you're going to want to have some retargeting behind it, in which case I would do Facebook, Instagram ads, although it's children's shoes, so you might also want to try doing some you could simply do retargeting and keep YouTube as the top prospecting, and then you could test TikTok, and I would definitely try Pinterest as well because of that audience. and I would still use the influencer's face everywhere that I possibly can
to
prove out that model until I doubled your revenue, and then I would try new stuff.
Love it. I'd love that. You are the first person to stop me, ask questions, and I think that's a great part of a good strategy.
Question.
Yeah, it isn't, but most people just give a straightforward answer, and I think it was great to kind of hear how you think about it. And is that is that the approach you take when you're working with e-commerce brands? Is you always kind of start with like really diving into understanding, where they currently are, so you can kind of see where they need to go?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing I try to always think about is like every product is wildly different, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so is every category, so is every business, and so is every business owner. Yeah. So even though you might have a specific product, like, so you have baby shoes in this scenario, right?
Yep.
You had the benefit in this business of having a YouTube backer that you could leverage their face for, right? But you don't always have that. So you got to pivot a little bit differently. If you didn't have that YouTube backer, I would probably go a different route. I'd probably try Pinterest ads first.
Yeah.
And then you got to think like every owner is different. So sometimes they're bootstrapping it, in which case, okay, we got to be really cost conscious with what we're doing here. Other times they're like, no, I have investors. We have a good amount of capital, and they've given me 6 months before they try to kill me. And you're like, all right, well, we got to go faster. What else can we do?
Yeah.
So there's always different scenarios in that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I agree. And quick question. So you do a lot of, I guess what would be considered omnichannel marketing. How do you define omnichannel marketing? Because I'm sure we've all heard the term. And is it for everybody?
Well, all right. So let's start with the definition. So I don't know what the actual Webster dictionary definition is, but like the way I see omnichannel is there's kind of two ways that you look at it. Most people think that it is my brand is going to look one way on my website, and I'm going to have it look the exact same way on Walmart and eBay and Amazon and all that fun stuff. And then it's going to sound the same. So all my copy's the same. It's basically brand recognition, brand awareness across the board, right? That's typically how everyone sees it.
Yep.
We also kind of look at it as the buyer's journey is wildly fluid. Like if you run, there's so many times that we will increase Facebook ad spend on a seller's account because they had the budget and they wanted to try something. And let's say we increase it. Let's say we double their Facebook ad spend.
Yep.
But we're not going to see double the amount of revenue on their website. We actually might only see like 30-40% increase. And then the rest could actually be on Amazon because of people that just like to go to Amazon. So then we have to figure out like, okay, we know that even though we're showing this ad, people are going to go wherever they want. And attribution is a nightmare as it is now. So you can't really track that stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So instead of fighting it, why not leverage it? So sometimes depending on the business, like I said earlier, we'll look at like, okay, if they left, do we want to retarget them with ads that maybe have some Amazon branding to it? And we let them know that we're available on Amazon. Or maybe I do retargeting on Facebook and narrow the audience to people that have an interest in Walmart, and I retarget them to my Walmart. So it's basically the omnichannel approach, which is standard, which is covering your branding and your copy across the board, but it's also leveraging your marketing across the board. And then looking at your business as a whole, as opposed to looking at each individual channel as its own entity.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. And then do you recommend for every e-commerce brand that they are omnichannel, knowing what you know now about omnichannel?
No, I wouldn't say so. No, if you were like luxury premium brands and stuff like that, selling on Amazon and Walmart, you kind of want to have that control and you want to have more exclusivity. Plus, if you're going to spend that kind of money, if a customer is going to spend that kind of money, you're going to want to like make sure that they have a great experience that you control. You're also going to want to upsell them on your own stuff where you have your margin, as opposed to letting Amazon do it or Walmart do it. So it's not always perfect. Plus, you think like subscription products are almost impossible to do on Amazon, at least continuously. Yeah. You don't get to keep any of the data, so you can't like put them down any nurture funnels or anything like that. So no, I would say it's not always perfect for everyone to do that approach.
Got it. Okay, that's good to know. And then I guess my next question is, when you kind of look at what you do for brands, I noticed that you guys offer the content marketing side as well. What was like the thought behind that, and not just going only on the performance marketing side, but like it seems like you have I was reading them through your blog, and you have if you're listening, if you go to BlueTuskr, BlueTuskr.com, they have a great resource section with tutorials and blog posts. And it seems I've been reading a lot of like your guys' stuff, and it's a lot about SEO as well lately. What was like the pivotal moment to say like, hey, we should focus on this as well instead of just acquisition and ads?
Well, CPCs keep going up. It keeps costing more and more money to run ads.
Yeah.
Like you think about the ads that always perform the best, right? 9 times out of 10, it's your retargeting stuff. So it's people that have already heard of your brand. They're a little bit warmer. They're not your top of funnel brand. If you can bring someone into, let's say, a blog post. So you have a blog post that kind of proves that you're super knowledgeable in whatever industry. And so let's stick to the baby shoes thing. You don't have to do, the top 10 baby shoes for, 2022. You can do like the best socks for babies. You can do stuff that's completely unrelated to baby feet. You can do really anything. And so what you're doing is you're showing that you know a lot about, how to dress a baby or something like that. Yep. And now you're bringing in this relevant audience, but they're so top of funnel. They're not really ready for a purchase yet, but now you can retarget them at a significantly lower cost. And then you also have the added benefit of you can put every bell and whistle on your blog of a pop-up that offers a discount or some kind of gated content or anything along those lines to gain their email and then work them down the road. So with how expensive CPCs and CPMs are getting and how they're just continuously going up and up, not having some kind of long-term CPA reducing process in mind, to me is pointless. I think you should do both, because if you start SEO and content creation now, you're going to thank yourself 6 months from a year from now. Yeah.
Awesome. I want to make this episode about this conversation because I personally am in the Facebook ad space. So I understand exactly what you're saying is like CPMs continue to rise. And then every year, obviously in like October, November, December with holiday, they go like 2 or 3x what they normally are. Did you guys always offer that as a service, or is that something that you added in recently when you saw like, hey, costs just keep rising?
No, we've been full service since day one. We really focus on working with we're basically like a how would you call it? Like a oh man, I'm drawing a blank on it.
Like full service?
Like we're an outsourced marketing department for the most part, right? Like a lot of our sellers work with every aspect of my team. And it's really because like one of the things we've talked about over the years is like, I totally understand the benefits of working with specialized agencies, right? Facebook ads only or Google ads only. It makes a ton of sense. Like the logic behind it is there. The problem that I've always had, and I've done it and I've seen it because I've had to live it myself, is when I was in-house at certain e-commerce companies, is you then become the account manager because your Facebook ad company is not talking to your Google ad company. And sometimes your Google ad company is taking all the credit from the branded ads that they're running when really it's the Facebook ads doing the heavy lifting. Then they're not talking to the email guy, and the email guy is not letting everyone know that he's not, getting enough emails, or the ones that they're getting in aren't great. No one's talking about the conversion rate on the website. Like no one's working together. So you have to, as an owner, you're stuck wrangling all of these agencies. And so our theory, and which so far in my eyes has been proven out, is that while we are a full service agency, we have specialized people. Like I have someone who solely does SEO, someone who solely does Facebook ads, solely does Google ads, and then the account managers oversee them. So that way you have one point of contact and they're all working together, as opposed to, whoever's in-house having to juggle 6 different agencies that they're talking to.
Got it. And is there a level you're trying to look at, like when you say organic versus paid? Like do you have like a mix in mind, like what's healthy for a brand?
No, because it all depends. Organic's also like kind of a loaded term, like metric. And so is direct. Like I actually just read a study on this guy. He created a very typical question on his lead form, right? He wasn't e-commerce, but it was still interesting to read. And it was, how did you hear about us? But it wasn't a drop down. It was just type it in. Mm-hmm. And so what he did was he manually aggregated all the data that he got. And then he wanted to say, okay, based on what this person said, as opposed to the report of what paid ads is, or what analytics is telling me, or his paid ads and all the attribution stuff that he had, what's actually happening? People would say, so-and-so told me about you guys and they told me I should reach out. They showed up as organic because they knew the name, searched the name, and then just clicked on the name on Google.
Got it.
Other people were like, I actually met you at a conference, went to your website, forgot all about you, and then got hit with your retargeting ad like 3 months later. So Facebook showed it, but it was actually the conference that got them. Facebook reminded them. But so it's kind of like, when we look at numbers, I always go real high level. Here's what you spent. Here's what you got. And then I go, do you want to know more? I go, okay, I will tell you more. And I'm going to explain why some of these metrics, I always caveat it with, try to think about, it's not a black and white situation anymore. Digital marketing is nowhere near what it was 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's more like traditional marketing now, where you don't run a billboard and then go, how many sales did we get from that one billboard? Like, it's just not a question you can answer. Yeah. It's the same thing now.
Got it. Yeah, I completely agree. Do you when you look at attribution, are you trying to, like, I guess most people use dashboards, but how do you kind of look at that? Is it Google Analytics? Is it just kind of moving all the way out and saying, here's everything you spent, like the whole marketing efficiency ratio conversation? Like, how do you look at attribution?
So we created this spreadsheet thing where basically, like, it's really high level, where it's almost as black and white as here's what you spent and here's what you made.
Got it.
It's a little bit deeper than that, but that's about it. And then it gets into, okay, here's what your website did as a whole. And then here's what Amazon did as a whole. And then it breaks it down by here's what Facebook did. Here's what Google did. Here's what each campaign did. So yeah, you could go deeper should you choose to, because it's always the question of, okay, what's working? Where should we put more money? And really, to me, that answer is always top of funnel. Always put it into the top of the funnel and then see how it trickles down and then figure it out from there.
Got it. Love that. And then I guess last question before we, kind of wrap up is, are you using a lot of the content in your marketing that you're producing for these brands? So, you put together maybe a couple blog posts and things like that. Have you found that content works well in ads and top of funnel?
Yes. Actually, I've actually found that sometimes it works a lot better than the traditional approach. So we'll actually do articles, and if we do like a pillar piece, so it's a big old, chunkier piece, like 5-10K words. Yep. And what we'll do is we'll see, okay, a lot of people are searching for this specific term. So give you an example. We work with this really awesome new beverage company. One of the things they help with is like lowering blood sugar, right? Yep. No one's searching for how to lower your blood sugar with a drink. So we were like, okay, how do we get these people? So one of the things we did was just created a real big blog about how to lower blood sugar, stuff that you can eat, stuff you can drink, exercise, you can do all that fun stuff. Yep. Obviously, relatively catered to the drink. And what we did is we actually just drive a ton of traffic through Google ads and a little bit through Facebook ads just to get traffic to that page, because now I know it's people that are interested in that page, right?
That is great.
The other thing you can do, which gets a little bit more complicated, but would be to actually, you can set it up where you can target the audience based on how far they scrolled. So if they got down to like where that drink was a little bit mentioned more than it was before, then we'll retarget them with ads for the drink. So that way, we're basically doing really top of funnel, like thought piece content, and then just retargeting that audience.
That's amazing. That's a great way to qualify that traffic and know, hey, they're actually interested and they actually are product aware versus just, clicking through and kind of being a little bit more like top of funnel. Mm-hmm. Great. Any final thoughts before we wrap up on just, what e-commerce brands should be thinking about in 2022 that are, under this $1 million a year mark as they head into the next season?
The one thing I always see is the biggest mistake that smaller sellers tend to make is the lack of quality. They really focus on like, I just want to get my website up and then start to make money. Yeah. They don't realize you haven't been able to really do that in years. So putting a true focus on like, let's make sure that they're having a fantastic experience, because at the end of the day, almost everyone is competing with Amazon. So you have to provide an experience on your website where it's wildly different. It's almost fun to use. Otherwise, why would they go to your site?
Well, how do you find brands living out that experience? Is it like the first time customer offer being so unique? Like, what does that look like for a brand to create an experience that is so different than Amazon?
I try to focus a little bit more on providing like an actual like visual experience. So, you can, really think outside the box of websites. Like, yeah, you got your standard, like, shop and about and contact and all that fun stuff up the top. But you could also create like a landing page that like you answer questions and then it takes you to the product that you like. Or you can have like, really cool effects on your site that obviously make sure that it doesn't go too slow, but like something that makes going to your site entertaining as opposed to going to Amazon, which is incredibly boring and overwhelming. Yeah. But you know what you're getting. Whereas on your site, you can have it a little bit more like, let's have some fun. Like when they come here, give them something to talk about.
Love that. That's really smart. That's a great point to leave off on. And then if people want to follow up with you, how do they get a hold of you? What do you want to send them?
Yeah. Our website, BlueTuskr, BlueTuskr. There's no E. And then all of our social media is just at BlueTuskr, or you can just come straight at me, which is just at Andrew Maff. Any of it. I'm on almost everything at this point. Awesome.
And then what do you guys specialize in? I know this podcast obviously is for e-commerce brands under $1 million. Do you work with smaller brands like that as well?
We have, yeah. Yep. We definitely have a handful of sellers we work with that are below $1 million a year. We tend to focus a little bit more between like if I had to pick a number, I'd say like right now we're a little bit more like averaging like between 1 and 5 a year.
Okay.
But really we work with pretty much e-commerce sellers of all types.
Love it. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Maff. Really learned a lot on just the content side and just making sure that we're using content in top of funnel to make sure that we, get people in and aren't just focusing on just trying to run more and more ads that don't really teach anybody or educate or entertain. And also love the piece that you shared on like people, once they get to your site, making sure that there's an experience that's different than Amazon. Because you're right. It's really hard to beat Amazon at Amazon's own game where they're constantly changing their site. The shipping's always free. Like everything is just so easy. Returns are easy. And a lot of times people don't know who they're buying from there.
Yep. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.